Welcome to the channel. This is our first garden tour to be posted on the site. I'm affectionately calling it One Flew Over the Septic Bed. We'll talk a little bit about background here so you know where I'm coming from. It all starts here. We bought this property in 2024 and moved in December. This was what the backyard looked like. Of course, we're in Canada, so in December that isn't actually what the backyard looked like. We moved in a snowstorm. But it was covered with a wide swath of scrubby brush at the back. There was a whole line of pine trees on the driveway border. And that's Harry. You'll meet him later. You'll notice the backyard was a flat football field of grass. Last year in the fall, we had an arborist in and they cleared out the dead pines in the driveway and cleared out this backyard space. So it looks a lot better. The next thing you're seeing is plans for our new addition, as well as the required new septic bed that went along with it. So this video is actually the story of the planting on the septic bed. Here's Harry. He's on his stroller and he likes going around the yard to see what's going on. So he will often accompany garden tours in the future. This is the cottage garden we never planned to plant. Here we go. We're starting on the west end of the garden, and my tour companion Harry has got an itchy ear, but other than that, we're good. So I planted sunflowers at the end here, which will be food for birds in the wintertime. And then it's just a mixture of herbaceous perennials, mostly, with some native plants, some non-native plants, and the occasional annual thrown in for color. But you can get a good view of what's growing right now. Daisies are all in bloom, which is always lovely. The delphiniums are finished. We put some compost here and managed to get a squash plant volunteering for us, so we're letting that grow. Just slowly sweep over things so you can see what's going on. So ideally there's going to be a series of blooms. Things will change as the season progresses. And because it's a septic bed, you can't put anything in with terribly long roots, so we couldn't plant it in trees and shrubs unless they're very specific ones with very shallow roots. Got lots more daisies coming in. We gardened in a dry shade situation for 20 years, and so having sun now is wonderful. Learning about all kinds of plants I didn't grow before. And we're discovering what plants like and do not like this environment. This is called a Buglia butterfly bush, and it was just teeming with butterflies yesterday, so it is aptly named. And there's one of my new favorite plants, which is a zinnia. It's an annual. I think it has an African origin, but it's got the first bloom on it that it put out over a month ago, and it just keeps putting on new blooms. So they're very resilient, very colorful blooms. And we've got some potted plants as well. There's a little potted plant, and there's more over here. Bird bath. We have the scourge of Japanese beetles right now, so a lot of our plants are looking very well eaten. They like banana plants. Here's a couple of little lovelies right there. All you have to do is scrape them off into soapy water, and that's the end of them, but there's so many of them that you could spend your whole day just scraping them into soapy water, which isn't my idea of spending a day doing fun things, but we try to keep ahead of it. There's a banana plant that I rescued over the winter actually and replanted it this year, and it's doing pretty well. So there's that series of planters. And then over here we have our herb garden. So down on the ends, parsley and basil and different kinds of chives, dill. Down here on the end, we've got some tomatoes that are starting to give us fruit. More tomatoes in here. Last year, Vita's planted a whole bunch of peppers, hot peppers, for making his own hot pepper sauces. And he has so much of that left over from last year. He didn't plant any this year. One of our above ground planters can't be put in until they're done with building the patio out here. So the outdoor kitchen is going to be there, along there. And then in front of that, we have room for another outdoor planter like this, where we can put more herbs or plants of any kind, if you like. That's Vita's shop over there, where all the cars go to be happy. And I'll walk around here and give you another long view of the garden from this end. And we're growing things on top of the septic mound that hopefully won't require mowing once they fill in. So these are ground covers. We use a lot of creeping thyme and other kinds of ground covers that hopefully eventually will just take over the space and it won't need a lawnmower. That's the plan anyway. And here's the garden from the top. And there's Harry. There's the patio they just poured last week. That room has the pool in it. So it's a 12 by 15 in-ground pool for leisure and therapy. And then here's the pond that Vita's created. I'll walk over so you can have a better look at that. We've discovered that we have very happy frogs living in here. So it has its own ecosystem already. And there are the shrubs that were planted earlier this year. We call that shrub henge, given that it's planted in a semicircle, looking like there should be a sacrificial altar in the center. And there you have a bird's eye view of the fawn. The yard is about an acre, so it's a fair bit of land to upkeep, and we have plans for getting plantings done along where the sidewalks are, etc. So that will unfold in the months to come. Thanks for being interested. Go over and say bye-bye to Harry. Can you say bye-bye? Can you say bye-bye?